Let's go!
Hey, everybody. No, hold on. I got to do my intro.
Okay, do your intro.
That's what I get to. Hey, guys. Welcome back to Campfire Conversations, where we have short conversations all about leadership. We've got Matt and Brad on here, and we're going to be sharing real-life stories of how we've persevered or gone through experiences that we want to share with you. Be sure to submit your questions, or if you want to jump on, we're here to talk. Today, we've got a great conversation around pruning hurts, but the results are awesome. And I know that, Matt, you're going through a season of some pruning, being a landscaper. Immediately I knew, like, hey, there's a lot of benefit to pruning. And you've got to ask people to trust you, because sometimes you've got to cut off some of the blooms to get things to flourish. And I think about all these different times that people would have these rose bushes or just these crepe myrtles or whatever. And I say, if you trust me, the outcome is beautiful, and you might not even see it this season. And so when that topic came across, I was thinking, like, dude, you're talking to the right guy. But you're the one who sent it over, so why don't you go ahead and kick us off? What's going on? Where did this topic surface?
Well, first of all, so we've probably experienced 4 years of some of the most massive growth that a fence company / serial entrepreneur has gone through. I mean, it's just been rapid growth. And it's so funny, too, because if you talk to one person, they're like, oh, this happened all of a sudden. But if you talk to me, I'm like, no, this has been years in the making. Like the buildup has been for a lifetime. Matter of fact, even my loved ones around me have said, oh, my gosh, all of a sudden we have all this massive growth and we're in this different life and blah, 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 and all this different stuff. And I'm like, no. You have no idea. I've been working on this since I was 14 years old. I'm 54 years old. So I've got 40 some years in the making of getting us to where I'm at.
You silly goose. You're an overnight success.
Silly geese. You're not an overnight success. And I am so tired of hearing that from people.
You silly goose.
I'm going to literally punch somebody in the throat the next time somebody says that to me. No, I'm kidding. But it is true. But with that being said, a lot of the times throughout this entire process, we've had to cut back. And one thing I learned when I was in my 20s in the first business that I ran into the ground is that I just kept my foot on the gas. Just kept my foot on the gas. And I just thought that I could handle it and just keep pushing. And eventually it imploded. So this time around that I started a business in my late 30s, and now that we are at the point where we're at, I recognized it right away, and I just started cutting, and I just started pruning. Instantly started finding anything that I thought needed to be trimmed back, I trimmed back. And part of my philosophy is that if somebody out there is in our business and somebody else isn't going to fight for them to be there, do we really need them? Sometimes when we get really, really busy, we think, oh my gosh, we need more help, when really we just have to grind it out a little bit and have that grit and that inner toughness to say, you know what, I think when we get on the other side of this, and we lost our way because we had money. So one thing that I've always taught is it's okay to rent equipment, and it's okay to even rent vehicles to get yourself through a tough time. We lost track of all that. We forgot how we buy equipment. I have this philosophy of buying vehicles that when you buy a vehicle, you want to buy it on a 36-month note. You want to make sure you know what that vehicle is going to be worth in 36 months. So let's say you buy a $100,000 vehicle, and in 36 months, that vehicle is going to be worth $75,000. You need to put $25,000 down. Now, it's just an educated guess, and it's real easy. All you do is you find that same make and model today that's 3 years old on a blue book and see what it's worth. Once you do that, you put that down payment down, and you start paying it, and you're on 36 months, you'll never be upside down in that vehicle. This was a process that I had. we got away from all that. We got away from everything we were doing. So all of these dead vines were laying all over the place in our company. And I started looking around and I'm like, dead vine here, dead vine here, dead vine here. What does that do to your books and to your tree that you think is really healthy, but really you start looking around and you have all these dead branches and you don't even know where you're at because you have so much growth and you've promoted and you've brought along so many young people that they don't even know where to look. This is a real life situation. This is a campfire that I'm literally standing around right now. And I had to cut, get that bill paid, get that bill entered, get this done. And I had to go clean up house. And it hurts. It hurts really, really bad. Matter of fact, we're cutting sponsorships. We're going to meet all of our commitments. All of our commitments of people that we promised we'd give money, all the kids that we said that we were going to do go-karts for and race cars for, everything that we said we were going to do, we're going to get them paid. All of this stuff is real situation that we're in. And I honestly believe we're going to be just fine, but we're a long ways from sprouting new growth. Does that make any sense to either one of you? You both are kind of giving me that funny look.
Well,
the only look I got, Matt.
Have you taken a breath, Matt? We're 8 minutes in. Thank you for sharing.
It's been a real grind.
Yeah, and you know, from like a singular job perspective, we know our numbers and user numbers regularly, right? And so for the last maybe 90 days or so, because we are trying to drive our top line revenue, but we're trying to pay attention to the margin because like you mentioned, there could be a gap there very quickly. Well, the ops team has been turning in this 45% gross margin, but then our QuickBooks is reporting 32, 34. I said, hey, we're not capturing something in cost of goods somewhere or whatever else. Well, get this. We went to reviewing every single invoice, and Matt, we're about a fifth of the size you guys are. We reviewed every single invoice, and everything seemed to check out. The pricing from the subs and everything else, the sub had actually been tacking on extra footage. And so, you look down there, yep, we agreed on $8 a foot, but we didn't look, 652 and 752 look awfully the same when you're driving 90 down the highway. And so anyways, we're doing very similar stuff, so we're not put in a position of pruning because, like you said, it hurts. So we're doing some proactive stuff. Matt, everything you just described is going back to the basics. You said you lost your way. Well, we talked about it in an earlier episode. Some people may have not known the why. I say you lose your why, you lose your way. And we were talking about, like, how do you transfer culture? Some of these people that have been with you have never been through the climb, through the grit, through the understanding of why we do these things. And so, man, an incredible story that you shared there. I think of the Pumpkin Plan, the book, The Pumpkin Plan. That's a phenomenal book, and it's all about thinning out to get the best pumpkins.
Right.
And so I encourage everybody to read it. I do want to make one point, and what I love about you haven't hid from this, and I don't think you've been doing any finger pointing because I know you well enough that you took ownership that whole 8 minutes. These are the things that we knew better. We could have done. You didn't pass blame. I think about like when you're pruning, and if you don't clean the saw blades, sometimes you can pass on oak wilt, and we have a ton of oak wilt here. And so it's really critical that when you prune, you don't cause damage to your tree. You have very clear intent. Hey, this is what we're doing. This is what it looks like when we get back on track. We don't burn bridges, and we stay connected. And I just think about that when you said pruning, one of the first things I thought is don't spread oak wilt either.
Right. And pruning looks, sometimes it can look ugly. I grew up on a farm and we raised a lot of soybeans. And I remember one year we got hit with a hailstorm late in the fall, and our soybeans just got whacked. And it stripped the leaves off. We lost a lot of blooms, and the insurance company, all the experts came out. Everybody looked at it and said, oh man, you're going to have a 60-70% loss. We harvested that field and it was record-breaking yields. All the experts, everybody said that field's never gonna. Well, what happened is that hailstorm actually pruned so much that it gave so much sunlight to the few leaves that were left that the blooms that were there produced more weight. So you didn't produce as many actual beans, but they were heavy and full and big and healthier. And we actually raised a bumper crop on that individual 120 acres, I believe it was, if I remember right. It was the auto farm, which I believe is about 120 acres. But we raised a record, we raised like 90 some bushel soybeans when normally we were raising 45, 50 bushel soybeans. Like big deal. But I remember looking at that field and it was so ugly. So I told my team a little bit the other day. I said, listen, guys, this might look and feel ugly and it's going to hurt, but we have to survive in the long run. And by the way, we can prune back as much and new growth will come out of the vines that are healthy. With that being said, it's very, very difficult what we're going through.
Pruning, like you mentioned, allows for more sun. I think about, to kind of tie this on, if you don't thin the forest, the trees cannot get any bigger. And if you ever, for people who don't know this, if you go into a forest, trees grow towards light. So you're going to get some really wonky trees if you don't thin them out. My sister, she's 29. She goes in and her job at the forest department is to thin these forests out, one, to prevent forest fire, but also to allow the growth to be healthy growth. And, for the average person, be like, wow, you guys are clearing too much. But for her, it's very calculated because they have a long-term goal. They have a 20, 30, 40-year goal. And I want to make sure when everyone's listening to this is that you can't just prune to prune. You've got to have goals. You've got to understand what you're pruning. Warren Buffett said, if you cancel Netflix and think you're going to become a millionaire, you're crazy. I mean, you've got to make big trade-offs. And if you don't know the law of trade-offs, call me some other time. But listen, the whole idea is if something like this just resonated and you want to work this out, or if you're on the other side of hard, we want you guys to call in. We want to be able to grab some people and coach you through. We're open books. We don't want you just to take this message and feel encouraged or discouraged for that matter. We want you to do something with it. So get on Facebook or Instagram and send us a message. You know how to find us on YouTube, or call me at 817-995-0394, and we're going to get you on the show and we'll do some open coaching. We want you to be successful. Even if it never airs, we want to walk you through it. So until next time, we'll see you guys later.